about the very scary, very strong, very loud donkey lady. But the donkey lady wasn't always loud. Once upon a time, she was as quiet as could be, and she wasn't called Donkey Lady, but just La Callada. She lived by herself in a tiny wooden house on a field surrounded by mesquite trees and Príncipe Dormido, which swayed in the wind. And in her garden she grew tall corn and juicy tomatoes, sweet watermelons, and big crunchy carrots. She was so quiet that some folks said she didn't even know how to talk. But the truth is, she talked to the trees and the birds, the plants and the wind. At the end of each day, she would whisper to the trees, "Thank you for your shade." She would whisper to the birds and the plants, "Thank you for your song. And thank you for your food." And she would whisper to the wind, "Thank you for blowing your cool breezes through my field." But some of the people of the town did not like La Callada. They looked at her beautiful skin, the color of chocolate mixed with cinnamon and vanilla, and they didn't know whether she was black or brown or white. Actually, she was all three and had the beautiful blood of all these races running in her veins. But some people didn't like that either. She would say, she would hear them speaking.
Yeah, she looks weird. Yeah, she's not like us.
Where did she come from anyway? Probably from some other country.
They did not like the way she lived alone. They did not like that she wasn't married. They did not like that she looked different from them, and they began to make up stories about her. They said she was a troublemaker. They said she was a witch. They said she was from some foreign country so far away that the people there were not even human beings. La Callada began to hear what they'd whisper when she brought her produce to town to sell.
I don't trust her.
She doesn't belong here.
La Callada thought to herself,
Oh, that's nonsense. All human beings are human beings, no matter where you come from or what color you are.
but she just left her crops at the general store and took her money and her thoughts on home.
Oh, what I know should be more important than what I think. It doesn't matter what they think.
And she went on home to talk to the trees and whisper to the plants. Her corn grew tall and her tomatoes were bursting with good health. When she saw her watermelon vines look sad, she watered them. And when she saw her carrots grow wilty, she shaded them. She had the most beautiful garden they had ever seen. And when she took her produce to the general store, everyone bought it up fast. But some of the neighbors were jealous. Mr. Tuckett, whose crops used to be the best, thought his tomatoes should be prettier than hers, and his corn should grow taller than hers.
After all, she's just a woman, and everyone knows women aren't as smart as men.
She sure knows better than you how to make corn grow tall and tomatoes grow big, said his wife. It's just for some reason.
It's just that she has the nicer trees. They lend her the shade they should be giving me.
Or maybe she used witches' tricks to make them grow. Yeah. Maybe those same tricks use up all our growing juice in the soil.
One day, Mr. Tuckett and Mr. Markey talked to their neighbors and said, "We ought to have that land the Callada lady uses. It should belong to us, not to someone who's all mixed up, brown and black and white." Now, Mrs. Tuckett heard them talking that way and said, "What does color have to do with anything? She's not hurting nobody. We have plenty of crops to feed ourselves, and I don't want to move to a different field." But the men didn't listen. They were too busy dividing up the lands that belonged to La Callada and deciding which one of them would get what. So one night, they came to her house and tried to scare her. They said,
"Leave, you witch. We'll chase you out. This land is now ours."
No, sir, it isn't. This is mine, and here I'll stay, where the trees and the birds and the wind know my name.
"We will take this land, and you're still on it. We'll beat you.
No, you won't.
We will burn your house down and kill you.
and pretty soon all the men were shouting,
Kill you. Kill you. Kill you."
and La Callada opened her mouth and shouted long and loud,
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. This is mine, and here I'll stay, where the trees and the birds and the wind know my name.
And within a flash, they had put torches to her little wood home, and they were shouting and screaming and forgetting every single thing they'd ever been taught about how human beings should treat each other. The flames rose high, and La Callada's voice did too, until it sounded like her voice came from above the trees and flew on the wind, shouting, screaming.
No, sir! No, sir! No, sir!
And when she came out from the porch of her little house, she was like a giant torch. Her clothes were covered in flames. Her face had been burnt until it was melted and disfigured, and her eyes were large and long and frightening. She could barely breathe, but her voice, almost sounding like a donkey's bray by now, still mouthed the words, "Oh, sir! No, sir! No, sir! This is mine, and here I'll stay, where the trees and the birds and the wind know my name." Mrs. Tuckett heard the ruckus from far away and came running all the way from her home shouting, "What have you done? What have you done to her?" She tended her wounds and treated her burns, but the damage had been too severe, and La Callada passed away. One day, a few weeks later, Mr. Tuckett was still thinking about those big juicy vegetables she had grown in her garden and wishing that land was his. So he sneaked over late at night after his wife was asleep and crossed the bridge that went to La Callada's house. He had almost made it all the way across the bridge when he heard what sounded like the giant braying of a donkey, and it seemed to be saying, "No, sir! No, sir! No, sir!" He shuddered, but he kept going, and it got even louder. That giant voice seemed to come from the trees. It seemed to come from the ground. It seemed to come from the wind. "No, sir! No, sir! No, sir!" He was trembling so hard he almost dropped his false teeth right out of his mouth. But he kept on going, greedy for those big, juicy vegetables and our land. The braying got so loud, he covered his ears and threw his elbows over his eyes. Suddenly he felt a giant kick right in the pants, It knocked him off that bridge and into the water, where the river washed him away downstream, and he was never heard of again. People don't remember Mr. Tuckett anymore, but to this very day, people talk about the donkey lady. And if you go walking over that old bridge near that field surrounded by the Mesquite and Príncipe Dormido trees, and you listen very closely with your ears and your heart wide open, you will hear the donkey lady's voice floating on the wind, trembling through the leaves, pouring from the trees and the clouds, and from the voice of every single creature who feels compassion, saying, "No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir. This is ours, and here we'll stay, where the trees and the birds and the wind know our names."